about the World JAIN Challenge. And of course, the World JAIN Challenge is still going on because there are a lot of people with dementia and we can assist them with technology. And these days we are focusing more on the business side because business is about practical changement. And Hans is going to tell more about this for a minute or two before we start with the first speaker of today. Still muted, Hans.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. I would like to refer to the 30th of June this year. There was an academical spin-off, a start-up, scale-up, and an MKB session, that's small, medium enterprises. And we have asked them for their needs. What kind of need do you have to go further on in your product development, just from start, ID, until products already on the market, and how to scale up. And especially a few of those people who are attended that meeting and enterprises has asked us how could you help us with scaling up products worldwide. And we are now at the moment busy with make it work in Brazil, Sweden, China, Singapore, and several other countries to set up field labs and set up long-term corporations. So that kind of assistance is available for all of those who are connected to JAIN. JAIN would like to help them to bring those IDs, products to the market worldwide. And our mission is, and that's the most important, to bring affordable products for people with dementia, the 50 million people with dementia worldwide, and for everybody affordable. I hope this is a good word. I like the scaling up activities. Thomas?
Yes, so the Continuous Learning and Development Club of the Dutch, mainly Dutch companies, is growing and becoming more effective. So it's like a community, right, of companies and of course also researchers within JAIN. So again, very welcome everybody to today's monthly meeting. We had the holidays for the last 2 months. So this is the first monthly meeting again before we're gonna organize this every month again with interesting speakers from all over the world. And I think today we have mainly Dutch speakers. And the first speaker is Xandra van Meegen from Vilans. And she's a researcher and designer and has a background in industrial design at Delft University and biomedical engineering. She did as well before she started at Vilans. And today she's going to talk about Resilient T, a digital platform to strengthen the resilience of older people at home. Sandra, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I will share my screen. Yes. So thank you already for the introduction. So my name is Sandra van Meegen, and I will present to you the Resilient T platform. So as already said, I'm a researcher and designer at Vilans, and also the introduction video showed to you by Erwin and Henk Herman. As already explained, Vilans is the National Expertise Center in Long-Term Care in the Netherlands. And we are mainly focusing on elderly who live in care homes and elderly who still live at home, and how to let them live at home independently as long as possible. And next to this group, we also focus on people with a disability. So how we can sustain the care for them. And Vilans is founded in 2006, has 230 employees and around 7 million people visiting our websites every year. And we provide knowledge. So that's our main core business, provide knowledge. And that we do that to more than 650 organizations. And we also have a team working on digital care projects. So we have around 43 national projects and also international ones, and 40 colleagues who work on those projects. And one of those projects is Guardian. And Guardian is a social robot companion who supports home care nurses and helps seniors to maintain independence in their own homes. And in the next JAIN meeting, Minke ter Stal, my colleague, will tell you more about this robot. And another program is the Resilient T, and this one I will tell you more about today. So Resilient T is a digital platform to strengthen the resilience of older people at home. What we see as a future is living independently at home for longer using digital means. And we want to support the well-being of people with mild cognitive impairments through technology. So in this project, we don't focus on people who have dementia already, but people who are feeling that they have some memory complaints and they are not diagnosed yet. So we don't know if they will develop dementia, but maybe they will. They will have some problems already. So this project is part of the AAL program, which stands for Active and Assisted Living. And it's an international project in which we work with stakeholders and partners from the Netherlands. So we as Wieland, but also CARijn, a care organization, and Compaan, which is a Dutch company creating tablets for seniors, and other parties in Italy, Switzerland, and Canada. So the goal of Resilient is to provide support for people with mild cognitive decline to work towards certain goals. And those goals can be healthy eating, physical exercise, social activities, and cognitive activities. And to do this, we developed a platform to provide self-management and coaching services to people with those mild cognitive impairments. So this is what we want to achieve. So in this project, it's decided to create a platform on the Compaan tablet. So as already said, it's a Dutch company who creates tablets specifically for seniors. It's very user-friendly for them. And also informal and formal caregivers can have access via an extra website to the tablet if necessary and desired. And Compaan is also a development team, and with that team we were able to create a functioning app on their platform, and that was already functioning. So it was good that they were in the project directly, and they were open to design new applications for their tablet. So how did we come up with a solution and the app platform? Well, we started with co-creation. It's also a strong value in the work at Freelance, what we do, always in co-creation with the target group. So we started with the co-creation workshop with the seniors who already have some memory complaints. And they have been engaged since the beginning of the project through user research and engagement activities. And also afterwards, when we found their needs and wishes, we designed the platform, and also we involved them during this design phase. And we also did the testing with them, and not only in the Netherlands, but also in Italy, the Netherlands, and Canada. And in the beginning, we saw that the person with the mild cognitive impairments, they want to receive easy to understand questions, receive interesting pop-ups during the day, to be able to reset their profile and goal preferences so they could switch whenever they want, to be reminded to reset their profile and goal preferences, and to receive suggestions to use also existing applications. So that it's also linked to other applications that are already there and designed that will work already sufficient. So with Compaan, we made this. We had a lot of different versions, but as it looks today, I will show you how it looks today. So this is the homepage of all the compound tablets. And here you see Kracht. In Dutch, we translated resiliency to Kracht. And when you start, you have a very easy homepage of the app. You can set your goals, you can set your profile, you can look back at messages that you already have received, and there's some more information. The goals, it's physical exercise, healthy eating, social contact, and brain or cognitive activities. And you can also specify this. This was also based on the testing we had. Some people were not able to walk anymore. They were in a wheelchair and they received messages like walk for 20 minutes today. So that was not applicable. So we set more sub goals. So people who cannot walk, they can only select seated exercises, for example. So this way we want to make it more personal for people. Also about healthy food, you can choose about salt intake, sugar and fat, vegetables and fruit, and hydration. And next to that, we also created a profile setting menu, because we saw that all seniors have different motivations and they want to have a personal approach. And we saw during the co-creation workshops that there are 4 personality types. So for example, the socializer, they say, I need to have the feeling that I work together with others. I feel motivated if others have done the same, or if they encourage me. So we changed the messages they receive to this personality type. The other one is an achiever. They like to accomplish things and they want to have challenges. So in the messages we send them, there are challenges to accept. You can, we really challenge them. And then there's the information leacher. They want to receive trustful information. And for that, we always provide more information than just the message they received. And there's the novice. They just want to have a reminder on what to do and nothing else. So here you can select that in how it looks in the app. And then every day at 12 o'clock, the user receives a message. This time can be changed according to their wishes. Normally automatically set at 12, but you can change it what you want. So for example, do you want to do exercise today while seated? And then you can click on yes, and you get a video, and you can work out together with the person on the video. Or another one is more about the vegetable and fruit intake. How does 250 grams of vegetables look? And then you are sent to a web page, which you can read more information. So the messages are very, there's a lot of variety in the messages. Sometimes it's a video, sometimes it's a picture, sometimes it's a game, sometimes it sends you to a website, sometimes it sends you to download an app. So there's a lot of different options. And when you receive the message, they are all stored in this part. You can see which messages you have received in the last days. Next to the app and receiving those messages, we also made a connection with a smartwatch. And the smartwatch can be synchronized with the tablet. And there the smartwatch registers the amount of steps, the distance, the sleep pattern. And with that, we created a smart algorithm. So the system provides feedback to the user on the amount of steps taken that day. And the algorithm takes the average of the 2 weeks before. So it changes every day. And this way, we don't send feedback based on a standard guideline, for example, the 10,000 steps a day, but more to the personal abilities of that person. So we really want to improve them to take the steps, and that's always based on the 2 weeks before. So it can, they can increase their steps or lower their steps. So for example, when they are higher than the main they get the message, you had a great exercise, excellent, this is a good activity for you. If it's in line with the mean, your physical activity is good, exercise and can increase your well-being, plan a walk. And if it's too low, then we don't say it's too low, but exercise such as walking can increase your well-being, plan a walk. More to stimulate than to do that. So this is how resilient looks like. We also have a large research part attached to this. So in the last 6 months, we have 250 seniors testing the system. And we do that in the Netherlands, Italy, Switzerland, and Canada. And the requirements were that the people are over 60 years old, they have subjective memory complaints, and they are willing to participate in research for 3 months. So the people have tested the tablets for 3 months, or they are in the control group. So they don't participate with the tablets, but they just fill out the questionnaires. And another inclusion criteria for the people who test the tablet is that they have Wi-Fi at home. And during those 3 months, we have questionnaires at several time points and monthly or weekly phone calls to see how those participants experience this tablet and the trial. Here there are some feedback or experiences we have listed. So there are some positive ones, some more negative. The positive ones are for the physical activities. It had a lot of good ideas that I implemented. The notifications also gave you many other good ideas, like connecting with friends from the past. Another one says, I use it every day and I follow the tips, but I don't like it. The tips and messages I received were too simple. They did not challenge me. It's more for old people who are lonely. The concept is not for me. Another one who was more negative was, I was thinking of something more. Some suggestions were just pages to read. I would have preferred to have more cognitive games or physical exercises. And another one was positive again, very useful and very interesting. I really appreciated the archive because I could review messages and redo them whenever I want. So these are the first, the study has not finished yet. The last participants will end their field trial at the end of August. And then we will start the data analysis and we will write the research article. And we also have tested their memory with the questionnaires and the effects and the system usability. So I cannot say anything about that yet, but you can always follow the Resilienty website and or connect with me to know what the results are of this research. And yeah, that's where I want to finish the part about the Resilienty platform and about next time more about the robotics. Minke Terstal will tell about the Guardian robot. Thank you.
Thank you, Xandra. Very interesting presentation. And I see one question already from Frank Meiland. Smart idea to work together with Compound. Franka, would you like to ask your question, please?
Yes, I think it's very nice to work together with Compound because then the chances of having it implemented will increase, I think. But I wonder if it also will be available on another platform so that it is easy also for those who do not want to buy a Compound, if they can use this as well.
Okay, yeah. It's already good that you mentioned it. It's good to have Compound in the project because also Compound has already made Resilient commercially available. So they already added it to their service. So care organizations who have who already have contact or a contract with Compound, they can elaborate on that to have Resilient to it. We have a lot of discussion in the project to have it as a standalone app, to also have it on other tablets. Well, I think because Compound was in there, we decided to have it on the Compound platform, but I think we can decide to make it a separate one, so also people on other tablets can have it. But the main addition with Compound is that there is the platform for care organization and informal carers, and also for the content development. Compan has the vision that care organizations can implement their own content to the tablet. So if they made a series of exercise videos with their physical therapist, they can upload it into the system via their partner environment for the care organization. So that's also an added value of working together with Compan, that they already have the access to that and that it can be easily implemented, and that also enriches the tablet and the messages that people receive. So by separating it from Compan, you miss that component, I think.
Yeah, then you would need maybe other providers who can change the exercises, etc. But thank you.
All right. So Franke is our dementia and care expert today, so we can expect some more questions probably. But Yutai has a question as well, and I look at the time. Yutai, can you maybe ask your question?
Yeah, so I'm actually very wondering, I don't know if you looked up for it, or I don't know if you mentioned it. I'm wondering if by using this app, patients with mild cognitive impairment have some sort of an improvement or like a decreased risk of moving towards dementia, because they're obviously more active and more cautious and more controlled compared to other MCI patients. So I'm wondering if there has been an effect, or if there is like a comparison between these patients who use the app and the ones who don't use the app.
Yeah, so in the research, we have two groups. We have one group that is in the intervention group, so they use the tablet, and there's one group who don't use the tablet. And then we have some standardized questionnaires like the MEC-Q and the AQ5DL, something like that, which measured the memory and the health status of those people. And we want to compare those two groups. So we have a time 1 and a T2, and then from the intervention group and the control group. And we want to see if there's any difference between those. And that is what we will do in September to analyze all those results. But I have to say, we only tested for 3 months. So I don't know how reliable those results are, because can this tablet make an effect in 3 months? Because initially we wanted to test for 12 months, so a full year. But because of some delays and in the project, we lowered that to 3 months. But yeah, it's part of the research, and we will see in September.
Can I just ask a small one as a follow-up? For the long run, are you expecting a difference at least, for example?
Yeah, because we also receive comments from people who are who play word games, for example, or memory games, that they recognize more words, and other people, they go more outside, they do more activities. So I really think it motivates people to work or improve their lifestyle. But there are also a lot of people who drop out because it's not for them. So I think it's for a select group, which really fits the purpose of this app.
All right. Thank you, Chandra, for this talk and answering the questions. It was very inspiring. Maybe there are more questions, but they can and should be answered later on. We have to go on to the next speaker. So thank you, Sandra van Meegen. And we go on to Claire McCauley, a lecturer in health sciences at the School of Nursing and Paramedic Science Institute of Nursing and Health Research. And she's going to talk about the Inspire the Reminiscence app, a more personalized reminiscence experience for those living with dementia and their carers. Claire, floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody, and I'm very happy to be here from Northern Ireland in Derry. So I'll just share my screen with you now, and hopefully you'll be able to see the slides.
Yes.
Yeah, you can see those.
Slideshow.
May I say something, Thomas?
Yeah.
It is very nice to have Claire on board. She was one of the World JAIN Challenge. Yeah, nearly the winner. She was very good. She was very good, and I think for 99% she was on top. So I'm happy that you're in our team, and I will visit you in Ireland on a short notice. Thank you.
Well, you'll be very welcome, and thank you for your kind words. It was wonderful to be involved. Today, I'm here to talk to you all about the Inspired app, which we presented at the World JAIN Challenge, and just to give some background to the research study that actually underpinned the development of our product. So the Inspired Reminiscence app was designed for a more personalized reminiscence experience for people living with dementia and their carers. I'm Dr. Claire McCauley, and I was the lead researcher on it, but this is the team, and it was led by my colleague and friend, Professor Assunta Ryan. And our team has been expanding over the years, and we've had some people move, but this is our current team of colleagues that are working on this. Just to provide some background, and I'm very aware that you would all have experience in this, but Reminiscence uses photographs, sound, and film to promote conversations about past experiences and life events. It's widely used in dementia care, and we know that, as long-term memories often remain intact for longer. And it really draws on the strength by supporting people living with dementia to share their life experiences and their memories. Research has shown that group-based reminiscence, and that's been investigated in a number of randomized controlled trials, has generated no overall therapeutic effect. And there's a number of different factors which we have found have been influential in that. But the beneficial effects for people living with dementia who attend planned sessions can sometimes be offset by raised anxiety or stress levels for their carers. So when we wanted to sort of look at reminiscence from a slightly different way and look at the more immediate and long-term psychosocial benefits that could be caused. So this led to the Inspired study, and Inspired is an acronym for the Individual Specific Reminiscence in Dementia. And our aim was to investigate the impact of individual specific reminiscence facilitated through the use of a tablet device on people living with dementia and their family carers. The study design was quasi-experimental. It was essentially a feasibility study, and it had three key phases. Phase one was developing and co-creating the actual initial software, so developing this prototype. And that was done, and I'll come to this in a second, but that was done with a user group of 6 people living with dementia and their carers, and who worked really seamlessly with us to co-create the design of the initial project. Then in phase 2, we implemented this intervention across families living across Northern Ireland, 30 people living with dementia and their family carers, and we used different time points across that time frame in order to assess the benefit of this. And then phase 3, we conducted individual interviews with people living with dementia, but also with their family carers to get a sense of the impact of it. So phase 1, the co-creation and design phase, and this was absolutely critical for ultimately the success of the Inspired research study, that this user development group with people living with dementia and their family care co-designed every single stage of the development of this app. It was developed and defined in workshops that we had at the university, but also in people's homes over a 3-month period. And it was used to design this interface to view photographs, music, and films. The results made that the choice by our user development group was an iPad to use because of different screen sizes, brightness, where icons could be placed. Everything was based due to their own specifications. The color of the interface, the amount of text that was on the screen, the position of the icons, the choice of the symbols to denote each different usability feature. And we found that IT support, care involvement, and convenience were all key factors in this. And we then began to sort of question the standard IT usability testing that was available to us at the time, because it just was not fit for purpose to give us the information that we really needed. And then we kind of went into a quite exciting phase, which was the implementation of this co-designed app, which went across 30 people living with dementia and their families across Northern Ireland, who received 4 reminiscence training sessions, and then a one-to-one facilitation process with a reminiscence facilitator. And then they also received one-to-one IT sessions with our IT and our app developer. And then they were encouraged to use the Inspired app over a period of 3 months, and they would regularly get visits from myself and some of the other research team over over that 3-month period, where we looked at certain key measurements. So the results that we initially got were, we're looking at the number of interactions that our participants had, and we could see that photographs were a real key driver for using it, particularly with the people living with dementia. But we could also see that music was massively important as well. And it really, and I suppose from our interviews, we began to understand why music was so important. But photographs and music were absolutely key. Looking at the outcome measures, what we were actually measuring as we conducted the research study, these were collected over 3 time points. So at baseline, at the very, very beginning of the research study, and then midway, halfway through, and then at the end of the study. And our primary outcome measure was looking at mutuality. So the sense of connectedness and connection that the person living with dementia was able to have with their carer at that time. We also wanted to look at well-being, and we wanted to look at the quality of the caregiving relationship at that time. And we found over the period of the study that the mutuality score was increased for a person living with dementia, and this was statistically significant. It increased for the carer, but it wasn't statistically significant, and there was a number of reasons probably for that, that the relationship from the carer's perspective was probably changing over that period of time, and they were kind of having slightly different experiences of connection during that period. We also seen that well-being increased for the person living with dementia, and that was statistically significant as well. And again, a slight increase, but towards the end, a slight decrease for the care. And I think this was due to the fact that memories were potentially coming up that they had never really anticipated, and some emotional and very challenging conversations came out, but they were important conversations as well, very important conversations. And the quality of the caregiving relationship improved across the period of time as well. So then we went into the phase 3, which was looking at the participants' views. So we had separate interviews of people living with dementia and their carers. We had 15 people living with dementia and 17 of their carers, and we analysed this over a period of time. And 6 key themes came across from these, and it was usability, that the app had become part of their life now. It became central to how they lived their life. And one of our participants referred to it as an armchair aid, you know, something that they would take out to dinner, something that they became part of almost their social network when people came to visit the house. Revisiting the past, that memories are hugely important to the individual, to their identity and to their life story, and to be ultimately understood by the people around them. That it was homely, it was designed for home use, and it allowed them to be at home comfortably in their home environment for maybe that wee bit longer. That it focused on gains and abilities and not about what was being lost. The entire focus of this project was what still remained, and it was there is still so much inside that if we approach things in a slightly different way, we can still see that. The impact on the person living with dementia was that it helped me find myself again. They could find pieces of their story, and they could articulate that and express that in a different way and be heard and be understood, which was really critical. And the impact on the relationships, that it had become very close now, that people had found a different way of caring, a more meaningful way of caring, where they could sit and engage with the memories and the stories that were integral to someone's life story. So our research findings, and these are just direct quotes from people that were actually living with dementia and the carers, you know, they would have said things like they put everything in their life and anything that mattered to them, and it became part of their life. From the carer's perspective, you felt you were losing someone, but then you think, my goodness, there is so much still left in there. And as we said and touched on, that it helped them find themselves again. So to summarise, people living with dementia use the app independently and more frequently than their carers. There were statistically significant increases in mutuality, in the sense of connectedness, and the quality of the caregiving relationship and emotional well-being. Among carers, the increases of mutuality and the quality of the caregiving relationship were slightly less, but we do feel that there's contextual reasons for that as well, that the carers were going through a slightly different journey than the person living with dementia. Participants received the intervention as a positive experience, which focused on gains rather than losses. So building on this and building on the original study, we received additional funding to update and make the Inspired app freely available on Apple's and Google Play stores. And we went through a process of engagement again with people living with dementia to co-design and to reshape and redesign this ready for more commercial release. This was launched in March 2021 and enables us to create a sort of a digital memory book that these personal photographs, music and film can be captured. Users can add typed voice notes about photographs, sounds, and films, so we can capture the voice of the person living with dementia, describing why this memory is important. And it helps family and friends and carers to really understand the significance of this memory for the individual. And we also can capture anonymous usage data alongside this with the user's age and their gender. And this app has been rigorously tested and highly rated by the Organisation for the Review of Care and Health Apps, ORCA. So this is just some of the screenshots that we've been getting from our Dementia NI, which is a local dementia charity. And we've had significant global reach with Inspired. We've had 10 papers published in high impact journals, 1 book chapter, 20 presentations at national and international conferences. We've had over 2,500 visits to our website. The app is now free and freely available on Apple App Store and Google Play Store. And we've over 1,300 users of the app. And it is free to download. It has no cost at all. So these are our publications and just some acknowledgement of our partner organizations that made this possible. And this is the Inspired app. This is what it looks like, and it is free to download. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to any questions.
Thank you for your time and speeding it up, I believe. So I see several questions, one from Yutai again. Yes.
I'm just wondering, how does the app increase the self-resilience and the quality of life? Like, I can understand let's say indirectly, like it makes people understand their past or like be aware of their memories. But in general, how does it increase the self-resilience, for example?
Thank you very much for your question. And it's a wonderful question. And I think it goes to the heart of what we have found in this research study, that it is not simply about finding your memories and just and sitting in them. It is what memories mean to you as an individual and what memories mean to you in your life story, and finding that and reconciling that with you as you move and as you progress in the journey of dementia. So as regards resilience and how we would define emotional resilience, we would perceive that to be very much a sense of self and sense of connectedness with the world around them, and feeling a sense of connection regardless of what stage they are within the dementia journey. And we have also found that difficult and challenging memories that people had, memories to do with the conflict in Northern Ireland, memories to do with childhood events and adversity that they had an opportunity, and also actually grief and loss that they had experienced in their life. They had an opportunity to confront again and to explore, and they found themselves within a very, very strengthened place. And by facing these memories and addressing these memories again, their sense of self was reinforced. And in doing that, a sense of resilience and preparedness for what was ahead seemed to massively increase. So this is very much a psychological and emotional journey that someone was on, but absolutely critical as they progress within their journey of dementia.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Yes, and I see that Marcia Klaassen would like to collaborate if that's possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I'd be more than happy to have any conversations. Yeah.
Yes, let's do that on another time.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to.
Nice. Any more questions maybe from Robert Smith? He's also present today, also joined the JAIN Challenge. Welcome, Robert. How are you?
He's still muted.
Yeah, I'm just muting. Yeah, very cool to see, Claire, your research in Ramesses, or recollecting memories and making memory streams. I was just thinking, do you also use AI to basically create a language that fits the people with dementia to fit their memory collections? Because you see now the development going in that way.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting question, and we haven't as yet developed that route for us. And I can absolutely see the benefit of where that would be. For us, the research study was focusing on mild and moderate dementia at that time. And we felt it was incredibly important, because we were focusing on gains and not loss, that we allowed the space for people to find the the words, whatever they would be at that time, and whatever language that they found to describe that. But it's very interesting that you asked that, because sometimes the memories that people would recollect were not as vivid as they would have been, but they were simply a photograph of a space, or a photograph of a piece of land, or a photograph of another image, and it allowed them to sort of then tease out what the feelings were behind the memory. And I think that was sort of central to our understanding around this. The memory is one thing, but it is the feelings that are underpinned by those memories, and allowing someone to connect with those feelings that were absolutely critical. But I can absolutely see how AI would have a role as somebody would progress further down the journey of that. But in this particular study, we tried to facilitate them to find their own means of expression.
Would it not be interesting more in the earlier stages of cognitive deficits to, now it's quite static in a way, to do images or music, but to do like narrative story makings of the relationships in memory reminiscences?
Yeah, it absolutely would. I'd be very excited to explore that, about what that would look. And I think sometimes whenever they were making them, because there was the option for videos on it as well, they were making almost, storyboards of different things, where they would be maybe several images that they would put together, and they would actually soundtrack it with a song. So for example, if they were looking at maybe images of their children at Christmas time, there would be maybe several different images, and then there would be a song that maybe the family would have listened to at Christmas time, or something. So they were themselves leaning in the direction of making videos, but some approached it in a different way, and we tried to allow it to be very user-led, whatever way they wanted to express it. But absolutely, there is so much scope and work that could be done with that as well.
And I have one more question. What kind of biomarkers do you use to read out the body reactions of
For this particular study, we didn't. We wanted to. This was very central around the emotional connection and the feelings that underpin these memories. But again, for future work, there is huge scope around how we could explore the changes, the kind of biomedical markers around those experiences, and how they changed as different memories were coming in out, particularly the more challenging memories that some of our participants were experiencing at that time. So again, a lot of scope for future work.
I think somebody else likes to collaborate with you in this, Claire. So thank you, Robert.
Very happy to. Yeah.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to collaborate on.
Right.
Absolutely.
The Continuous Learning and Development Club. So we have to go on now to the next speakers from the TU Delft, Katharina Uttel and Frank Bros, both assistant professors working at the Interactive Intelligence Group of the Technical University Delft. And the group of Delft is focusing on the development of artificial intelligence that learns to complement and strengthen people in a way that makes sense. So they're going to talk about robotic partners in care for people with dementia. And the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. Let me just start sharing my screen. Okay, great. Thank you. We'll be talking about some of the work that we've done today, and also work done with our colleague, Mark Nierix, who unfortunately can't be here today. So to give an idea of our interests in the group, we are interested in creating intelligent agents, either conversational software agents or social robots that are able to act as partners in care for people with dementia. So we're looking at exploring new ways that we can bring these agents into the home or other less structured environments, and not only looking at the human agent relationships, but how these agents can help to form and improve human-human relationships in these care scenarios, and looking at different ways that we can use artificial intelligence both to monitor behavior, but also to kind of support the work of carers, and also how agents and people can learn from one another during interactions. So one area of interest for us is music in robot-guided activities. As we heard a little bit in Claire's previous talk, we know that music is able to evoke emotion and trigger memories. It also encourages people to move So it stimulates exercise and it allows people to connect to one another emotionally. So in previous work done in the group, there was work in creating a personal musical assistant for people with dementia that is able to stimulate these social, cognitive, emotional, and physical processes. And we investigated the use of this agent, and we found that these activities were successful, and especially that activities provoking reminiscence were especially participated. So I'll go a little bit more into how this study worked. This personal assistant was evaluated in living rooms at meeting centers for people with dementia, and 30 people with dementia and 8 activity coordinators took part in these interactions over 3 weekly 90-minute sessions. And people interacted with the robot in a number of activities that were developed for the system. And they found that these music-related group activities were successful in stimulating the participants in these dimensions of interest. And particularly that reminiscence was one of the most favored activities. This work was done within the ReJam project. So if you would like to find some more information about that, you can check the link at the bottom of the slide. And then I'd like to talk a little bit about some future work that we are just beginning to undertake that builds on this prior research. And this is the idea, this work is motivated by creating a memory model for a robot that is able to engage in reminiscence with people with dementia. Okay, so we are looking at a form of robotic memory that can support personal human memories and their disclosure and reminiscence. We're looking at episodic memory in the robot, so a way the robot can create memories of shared experiences with the person with dementia. These experiences, such as listening to music or dancing together, that might take place in a care home or potentially the home in other contexts. And the idea of these shared experiences is to use them as a staging ground to encourage the repeated recall of reminiscences that the robot can build into its memory model. Because we're looking at people disclosing personal information, we're also interested in the question of self-disclosure to robots and what kind of characteristics of a robot make people feel more comfortable to share their personal memories. Do people feel safer engaging with a more human-like robot that exhibits human social cues and a human-like persona, or do they feel more comfortable with a robot that's more like a machine, even if it may be a machine designed to perform care? In addition to this, we're looking at different measures that we might use to evaluate the effectiveness of these type of interactions. We're interested in looking at the level of recall, how much self-disclosure these interactions can facilitate, but we're also looking at the quality of the shared experiences themselves. And one way that we're looking at doing this is using measures of fluency of interaction. These are measures of shared physical behavior that are often looked at when you're looking at human-robot collaboration. Let's see, and then I'll just go into one more potential application of robots in dementia care, which is using robots to perform patient-reported outcome measures. This is something that's of great practical interest because in value-based healthcare, you want to make sure that the care you're providing is cost-effective and that it's producing good outcomes. And in order to assess this, you need to be able to measure these outcomes and their impact on people's quality of life. And so this kind of data-driven healthcare supports physicians and nurses and also the institutions that are delivering healthcare. There is unfortunately a trade-off though, because often the response rates to these kinds of questionnaires and data collection can be quite low, and also administering these types of measures can put additional administrative work on healthcare professionals, and we'd like to avoid that so they can focus on other more important parts of their job. So the solution is to create a robot that is able to conduct these kinds of interviews with people with dementia. And we've found in studies that an interview conducted by a robot has similar performance outcomes as when conducted by a human administering the interview. And so that's a promising development in this area. And if you'd like more information, you can check the paper on this study. And then I will hand over to Kata, who will talk a little bit about work that she has done.
Thanks, Frank. Yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about work I've done a couple of years back while I was still a postdoc at EPFL in Switzerland. And in this work specifically, we focused on looking at how to support nurses in their daily work with patients of dementia. And to provide a little bit of background to the education in Switzerland, it's that while nurses, so there's different kinds of nurses, but if you go into elderly care, you generally do a vocational education. So that means you're maybe 14, maybe 15, 16, and you stop school. And then you go into, working. So you will have 4 days a week in the nursing home and 1 day a week in school. And we kind of wanted to bridge this gap between very theoretical knowledge in school and the hands-on experiences those students make every day. And when you're 14, so we talked a lot with the teachers, we talked a lot with the supervisors at the workspace, and they said, well, it can be quite daunting if you're 14 years old to suddenly be confronted with situations which can be challenging, right? So you have a patient and she's looking in the mirror and is just crying because there's this old woman in the room and she just doesn't really recognize that it's herself. So how do you deal as a 14-year-old with that? So what we wanted to do is, can you go one slide further? Maybe. Okay, so what we wanted to do is basically create a safe room, basically where students have a safe room to practice different kinds of scenarios. So what we created is, at that point, it was a very rudimentary conversational agent, which basically where the students could try out different scenarios. So it would guide you through situations which the nursing teachers explained to us, and you could see what kind of scenarios could happen. One really important aspect for us was to look at nonverbal interaction. So what we were told is, again, you're the experts. I'm bright. My background is AI, so I would love to have feedback from you all if we did things wrong and to learn. But what we were told is that empathy is very important, and also how you express this non-verbally. So if you're really agitated, this will show in your patient, right? So how can we increase a certain sense of reflection and just to mirror your voice? So what we then did is, okay, we had the students speak out how they would convey certain kind of messages, and just have them listen to it, and then try to see whether they mirrored stress or whether they could actually calm situations down, and how that made them feel. And that was a really rudimentary first study. And one of the most important aspects we learned from this study is how important the autobiographic memory of the patient is, and how important the individual is. So now in the future work, as Frank also already mentioned, is we're trying to really build an AI system, an AI memory, which kind of captures these informations. Yeah, that's it, I think. If there's any questions, I think Frank and I would be very happy to answer them.
Yes.
Thank you very much for this interesting talk from the both of you. And I'm looking at the questions. Franka, can I ask you, what do you think of this, like from a dementia point of view?
Am I the only Franka here? You mean me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it are very interesting developments. Yeah, we need, of course, more technological interventions to be able to support the bigger group of people with dementia. And I think all kinds of these studies, yeah, I think rather experimental yet, are necessary to, yeah, yeah, continue in this field. So yeah, with the part about the robots that Frank mentioned, I think, yeah, also you mentioned also with music and with memory kind of activities, those are very important. We know that also from the usual psychosocial interventions without AI and technology. And I think the challenge is to have it in a way that you can, yeah, save personnel, time of personnel, and provide those, yeah, already proven effective interventions in a different way. And well, yeah, that can also be done with robots. My thoughts when I heard your talk was that I think with these robots, it seems to me that it is also rather expensive to use these robots. So I think that, but I don't know if that's true, that will be more available in residential care settings, or these prompts, of course, in hospitals, I think, and not that much for people living at home.
Yes, I mean, certainly right now, I think it's more economically feasible to think of the robot as kind of a shared resource. And of course, especially with the kind of larger, more humanoid robots, but there are a range of different robot embodiments that might be cheaper and more feasible to actually deploy in a home.
Yeah.
Nice.
And with Katerina, I thought, I know that Pharos also is just has made a conversational aid with yeah, how to yeah, communicate also with people with a migrant background or low literate people. And that's also experimental, but it's very nice. So I don't know if maybe you can also get in touch with each other about these kind of conversational aids, how to, yeah, to also help people, yeah, how to educate people, how to well communicate with people with dementia, and how to respond to, yeah, either emotions or questions they have.
That's a good
So
idea.
it's very nice to. I would love to know more about your application as well.
Thanks.
I would like to be also a part of the discussion. We are looking for assistance of people with dementia or people with cognition problem in this moment, now, not in the past or not in the future. How could AI people assist in the daily life, just in the moment? What's your opinion about that, Catherine or Frank? Just in the moment, AI in the moment, how could it be used? Is that a difficult problem?
In some ways, I don't think that we in the AI community can come up with these solutions ourselves. I mean, I think that it's quite clear that what we really need is collaborations with people that are experts in dementia care in order to let us know what the needs are and how AI might help. And then, you know, we need to be able to communicate what current, you know, ability, what's actually currently available, and then kind of arrive at solutions together. So I'm not sure if I have a proposed killer app for how AI. I just have an interest in talking to people about what we might come up with. Yeah.
Maybe it will be a subject which will go on this year as a main topic, how to live in the moment with AI. Thank you very much, Thomas.
Yeah, I think Marlene also had an interesting question about deaf people. And there are a lot of deaf elderly people. Is there some sort of alternative to music to stimulate them?
That's an interesting question. It is not something that we've been looking at specifically. I don't know, it might be more of a question, I think, possibly for Claire in her research, because she looked at some other modalities that were that seemed successful in provoking reminiscence. So, yeah.
Yeah, maybe I could provide something here as well. It's a fantastic point around the deaf community and also the blind, and I was trying to look around different mechanisms in which memory can be triggered, and I think it's around connecting with probably the senses, and I think that is quite a hard thing to achieve. But even the senses of research would suggest even rhythm and the sensations of rhythm, and even that being, you know, on the body as well can simulate things, and smell, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done on that. But I think it's a really important conversation that we sort of bring in as well, that the deafness, my own father is profoundly deaf, so it's a huge area that we need to look at, because memory will still lie somatically in the body, and it's a case for us of how we can find ways to release that and to bring that out. So it's a really important point. But I think Frank is right, it's a lot of discussion would need to happen around the best ways, and get a lot of heads together around that, definitely.
This is a nice point, Claire. We had a presentation from the University of Tilburg here in the Netherlands, also a research project, and they, on demand, on the wish of the people with dementia, they bring a certain smell into the room. That is a fantastic idea. We will bring those ideas also to Frank and Catherine. Okay, thank you very much.
I see some other questions. Yutai again, interesting question.
I'm not sure if this was mentioned, but I just couldn't stop but to think, how do you match the specific musics with specific patient memories? Like, I understand that you use AI, but isn't it like a broad selection? So how is it possible to match?
Yes, we've thought about this. We haven't come up with a solution yet, but obviously the music has to be personally meaningful to people. So ideally, we would allow people to have their own personally created database of music, either something that they select themselves, or maybe if they are a user of an online music service, we could do that, though that may not be very realistic for the age range of the people that we're doing. So we're looking into other options. But more generally, we're looking at thinking not just about music, but music that kind of hits, there's a reminiscence peak of kind of, late childhood, early adulthood, where that tends to be the time period that people are able to recall more easily. So we are ideally personalized music, but certainly music that kind of falls within that age range of when it was popular for people that are interacting with the robot. So
thank you.
Nice. And I see that Robert also did a lot of development in deaf interfacing solutions. Robert, could you maybe elaborate on that?
Basically, it's like interfacing. Most interfacing is done visual because it's the strongest sensor of people. But you can also reprogram people or train them to use other interfaces like bodies. I did smelling robots also. It's very cool. Like they mix 150 different basic senses, and you can create music in kind of smelling environments. It's really cool how people react on that, or with blowers on the sensor and electro stimulations. After a while, people understand this language. Basically, they have to understand the language or the music coming into this way. It's a very interesting area that you mentioned that, because a lot of elderly have visual impairments. And yeah, it needs to be developed, I think.
Right.
But this is also why I asked AI narratives. I think with AI support, it can be very easily detected how people respond best to what kind of sensory input, and can get the gain aspect of what's inside to maximize their capacities.
Right.
So I see there also the relationship with Claire. Now it's only like music and visual, but the next phase will be also more tactile, sensing, smelling.
It's very interesting and effective discussion, I think. We really go in depth. And I want to thank Frank and Catherine for their talk, the work they're doing. And let's talk about this more often. We have to go on to the last speaker of today, Maartje Klaassen, Director of Sarah Robotics, Ambassador of the Katharina Research Foundation, and board member of FME representing startups. Sarah from Robot to Platform. Just do it when possible is her title. And Maartje, floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. I will just share my screen. I hope you can all see it well and hear me. And I see it just started the wrong page. Sorry for that. So yes, Sarah from Robot to Platform. So other than the previous speakers, we did not start with research. We started by just doing something as real entrepreneurs. We also saw a staff shortage also before COVID, of course, already in long-term healthcare, and we really had a devotion to do something about it. Our Minister of Long-Term Healthcare, Connie Helder, recently published and presented her program, and one of the sentences in that is "just do it." In English, it sounds a little bit like Nike, but I think what she means is a little bit the same. We just have to do it, and of course, when it's possible, and it really suits our vision as well. So we're really happy about that. I will elaborate a little bit more about that later in this presentation. So my name is Maartje Klaassen, Director of Sarah Robotics, also board member of FME, because I really think it's important that we also work together as technical innovation companies in which we can really make a difference. If it's problems with stikstof for farmers or in healthcare, there's also a lot to do on the political agenda. And I think startups really have a difficult challenge here, especially in healthcare. So that's why I really think it's important also to push a little bit there. And because of my personal health, I've become the ambassador of Katharina Research Foundation, a research foundation which is connected to the Katharina Hospital in Eindhoven, where I live. Started as a marketeer, went from financial to healthcare industry by working at Philips Healthcare, and now found my love at Sarah. Sarah stands for a better quality of life and work. So we really want to help, of course, the clients in long-term healthcare, and especially we started with people with dementia. But also we want to make a difference for staff in long-term healthcare. So that's always where we started, and we want to be there and support from the moment it's needed. So we started in healthcare institutions, but I will also explain a little bit later that's not the only place anymore where we are working with Sarah. Yeah, I don't have to explain to this group, but the problem is, of course, in long-term healthcare, you see a lot of misunderstood behavior. And that's where Sarah does a lot of interventions and is really successful. So I'm not going to elaborate about the staff shortage and all the troubles we have, because I think everybody in this group already knows that. But that's how we started, and we immediately started working together with healthcare institutions. So our solution is Sarah, that supports healthcare professionals and also provides care to clients. We do that with, of course, some entertainment, distraction and relaxation, but also contributing by physical and psychological health, stimulating self-direction and self-reliance, really important if you think about people wanting and to do more themselves, but also need to do more themselves with all the staff shortage, day and night rhythm control, and increased social engagement. And everything is should be and is integrated in the care process. We do it with 15 care institutions at this moment. We are still really a startup, still inventing ourselves. Together with care institutions, we are improving our systems and our platform. But already Sarah is working at 15 care institutions in the Netherlands. But how? Now, for us, it's really important that you don't have to see the whole staircase to just take the first step. So we just started working together with some care institution in the Netherlands 3 years ago. And step by step, we are together developing the Sarah software. So we didn't thought about it at the high-tech campus in Eindhoven, where we were situated back then, just inventing a robot and in the end the platform. We really started to work together, and every new step creates questions and answers for next steps. So we didn't thought it all through at the beginning. We are just finding out every time again. So we started with a robot in 2018. We started as an EIT digital proposal. And in 2019, we got the proposal and we really started working together with, for example, Tante Louise and Zorggroep Eldermasduinen in the Netherlands. Like I already told you, we really started working from day one at care institutions. We want to see how people reacting, nurses reacting, but also, of course, clients are reacting on the robot and what challenges there are. Of course, you can imagine that we started there in 2020 and that we did that for about 8 weeks, because at that time everything closed because of COVID, and we thought, well, we are done for now. We cannot do our work anymore. Sarah is going on the shelf and we will wait until COVID is over and we will come back again. But at that time we thought, or maybe we can do something because we have robots. And at that time, and I think it's nice because you saw it also in the presentations before, distraction is also already a lot of, can already do something. So with a robot that can tell stories and shows and play some music and ask some questions, we already maybe could help. So we offered then Sarah to care institutions for free, but just for a month or a couple of weeks. That turned out in 125 sleepovers of Sarah in the year 2020. Which was a big hassle, but it cost us 125 times bringing a robot from Groningen in the Netherlands to the south of Maastricht, and also picking them up again, but also 125 times feedback. What would they like? What did they don't like? And really a lot of discussions with all these care institutions, which really helps us to develop Sarah further. And also some of them said to us, we want to join you and we want to develop Sarah together with you further. And that's why we got some funding and we are where we are right now. So I told, like I told you at the beginning, from robot to a hardware independent platform with a lot of insights. So also here, step by step, we didn't know exactly where we were going, but we started with the usage dashboard, for example, to collaborate the data. And then, of course, data always gives you new questions. So then we said, okay, we need a dashboard also on the location level and on client level. And now we are working on insights into client health and well-being through the data collected by Sarah, but also the data collected by others, which Sarah is working with together. because Sarah is hardware independent platform, and we really believe that it should be integrated with other innovations and other techniques in the care process. So, for example, a bed sensor can tell Sarah something about if somebody is still in bed or not, and then Sarah can intervene if it's necessary, that it's still night, that you have to go back to bed, that it's time to that it's 3 o'clock in the night, so please go back to sleep. And in 50% of the times, people were going back to bed themselves, so the nurse didn't have to walk over and do the same thing as Sarah did. And with the integrated process, we could also tell the nurses that Sarah was doing the intervention, and if people are having troubles, that Sarah can also communicate with the nurses through the communication system that they were used to, which they already were working with. We're also working with Mentech. They have wearables for clients to detect stress. Stress is, of course, a real trigger for this misunderstood behavior. So if we can detect stress in an earlier stage, we can intervene in an earlier stage, and Sarah can do the intervention because Sarah gets from the stress sensor the input to do something, or that somebody is building up its stress. So we really believe that we have to work together. So I'm always open to collaborate with everyone, because I think together we can really make a difference, because what we see now is that there are a lot of good innovations and a lot of good intentions. But if we work together, we really make the difference, because in an early stage, people with dementia, we can still learn, of course. And if you learn there in an early stage, someone has to work with the technology and has to swipe to the left. We all have to make sure that our technology swipes to left, and not at one point we're going to change that to right, for example. So I really believe that we really have to work together, not only integrate, but also to make agreements with each other, that we have to work a little bit on the same way. So we really make the difference. Are we then there yet? No, we are not, because it's not that so that I create a robot and a platform and that then everything works for itself. And I want to elaborate on that by showing you this video.
And close your eyes and just fall down, okay? Don't worry.
Okay, then Lauren's going to catch you.
Close your eyes. Okay.
Okay, it's called the trust fall. Okay, trust fall. Ready, set, go.
This is what happens a lot of times. Somebody, you communicate with each other. You say, okay, close your eyes. The girl already closed her eyes. The sister was already going to the back, and they forgot to communicate which way she had to fall. The other one was also already closed her eyes, and she did the assumption that she had to fall on forward. Now, assumptions are killing, of course. And also, in this case, if we just go with Sarah to a nursing home and expect nurses just to work with Sarah and do the assumption that everything then falls into place, that is not the case. So we really have to help them to work with Sarah, and we have to help each other and communicate with each other. So we have a development team which is working on the system, but we also have a team of implementation specialists really are on the floor there with nurses and there with people with dementia, to really learn to work with Sarah and to learn to work with technology and to learn to let it work for you instead of that it's interfering with your work, for example. So we do that via a process, and in this process we also do all our measurements in the successes of Sarah, because of course we can develop something, but we really want to know if Sarah also really makes the difference for care workers and for the clients. So we start with setting the team, then setting the goals, pick out some clients who are really have this, for example, misunderstood behavior, agree on some timings, then check, are we all on the same page? Then we are building profiles. Sarah is working on personal profiles, and then we check also with other staff members. Are there others involved? Are there doctors involved? Are there physical therapists involved? We check if we need them, and then we evaluate. and we share the results. These are in Dutch. I had not time to translate this, but this is what we do at every care institution. We really want to create the result, to share the results for the business, of course, for our business, but also to see if it's working and to see where we have to adjust things. Because it's an open door. Measuring is knowing. In 2020 started we with a bigger measurement plan. That's what we always do, but we also do the small measurements. And at this point, 90% of our SARA users really say, hey, I have my hands free if Sarah is working with the client, so I can really do something else. So that's something which is important in nursing homes. And we also see, especially in disability healthcare, we saw for the first time that also Sarah could help people to be more self-reliant. And this we translated also to dementia, because you see in disability healthcare, it was already in the vision of the sector. Sarah, people really want to contribute to the society. They still want to matter. And of course, when you have dementia, I think Teun Tubus wrote a nice book about it last year. Also with dementia, you still want to contribute and matter. And you want to, it's not only that you have to stay longer at home because we don't have the spots in the nursing homes. You want to stay as long as you can in your own environment. So by helping people to become self-reliant, we really can learn from disability healthcare. Again, just do it when possible. I really believe in a practical approach. We just have to start. Of course, we have to do the research on the site, but you also really have to start to make the difference, because the timing is now, and it's not the pressure is also now. It's not over a couple of years anymore. Of course, step by step. We start with what you have, keep it small and simple, insights lead to new questions, and keep in touch, because of course there are a lot of challenges when you are working with technology, really vulnerable people that not always can come up for themselves. So we really have to discuss what are the downsides, for example, of the technology. Yeah, there are a lot of nurses that say to us, oh, we want that Sarah is communicating with the clients all the time. And we say, okay, she's communicating, she also is listening. And if she's listening, she hears everything what is said in the surroundings, because we have to collaborate everything what is said. Sarah will save that and translate that, of course, to text. When do you need that Sarah is saying something and listening, and when not? Because otherwise it's the whole day and we hear everything. So we have to discuss about the downsides of technology and see when do we really need these downsides because it's necessary for safety or whatever, and when it's not, so that we don't need to do so. So that's something that we discuss every time when we get questions about, Sarah should do this and Sarah should do that. I think it's our responsibility to explain also the other sides of technology and to discuss together which is the best way of working. This was my presentation. I really, like I said before, we really want to work together, and I think this community is a really good example, but also maybe we can try here to really set up some standards for the sector so that we are going to do the things right, and that we are also work with some standards for people with dementia. So in your dementia journey, you will get some different technologies, and if you in the early stage work on a specific way, you should make sure that specific way is there during their whole journey, even if it's other technology. It should work the same for the people. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Maartje. Perfectly said that we could discuss standards for this sector. Maybe we can arrange another meeting in between the monthly meetings with the community because it is really a community, right? The Continuous Learning and Development Club. And like in this monthly meeting today, we can see that some of you can collaborate and maybe should collaborate, brainstorm more often. It's becoming a national and also international platform, talking about the Joint Artificial Intelligence Network. And from now on, we will arrange more monthly meetings as well. So we're going to build up towards these standards and more awareness of technology within care, and then especially dementia care. We have a few seconds left for questions, and I saw one from Sira about people with cognition problems. Are they not afraid of robots, Maartje?
No, that's one of the first things we, of course, were researching. Of course, there were already some researches about social robots, which we started reading before we started at Sarah. But the clients are most of the time not afraid. It are the nurses and sometimes the family members who are more afraid than the clients. Of course, during night shifts, that's well something, but that's a little bit of think about how you would refer it yourselves. So, one of our care homes started with night shifts with Sarah, and then Sarah is in the room of a resident. And then if you never introduced Sarah before, it's a little bit scary when you're getting out of bed and all of a sudden a robot is going to talk to you, which you have never seen before. But I think that's not only for clients, that counts also for you and me. So it's also about a little bit logical. Even if they have dementia, if you introduce Sarah during the day, they have some recognition when they see Sarah in the night. There's no clients most of the time don't have have problems with it. I think it's 90% is okay with Sarah.
Right. Okay, thank you. And thank you everybody for being here. We have some questions, and of course you're free to go now. Maartje, I would like to ask you some questions, but for everybody else, if you want to stay, you can stay, of course, and otherwise you can leave. Maartje, one question from Janneke. Can you bring the screen of the robot from Sarah more to you? Because I think it's a bit inconvenient to operate the screen from your wheelchair.
Yeah, I think that's why we are more and more working with the speech interaction, so that you don't have to use the screen. The screen is only showing you something, but you don't have to touch it, because one of the learnings up front is that especially the elderly now are not used to touch the screen. So they are going to talk back to Sarah. I've also brought the robot to the class of my kids. They are 8 years old, and all the kids in the class were really willing to touch the screen, and they were really not used to talk to the screen. So it depends a little bit on generation, I think. It's what you're used to, but we see that elderly mainly want to talk to Sarah and not are used to use the screen. So now it's just for showing and not for interacting in that sense.
Right. And we have another student, Carl, that has a question about being stressed. Right, Carl, can you maybe ask your question?
Yeah, of course. You were talking about the stress sensors that they have. Like, I was wondering how they measure stress. Like,
yeah, and it's a company. We are sitting in the same building on the same floor, and we work really nice together. But it's not our stress sensor. It's someone else. But what they do, they have socks, and in the socks they have I have to think how we say this in English, but the skin regulation tells the socks something about the stress movement. It's not that they can tell if somebody's really happy, then also sometimes it goes off, but it's mainly invented for people when they get stressed. The socks can measure the building of the stress. So what you see is that, sorry, Catherine.
That probably is the arousal, right?
Yeah.
Like your emotions you measure in valence and arousal. So I assume the activation, more or less.
Yeah, and then what you see is that when people really have this misunderstood behavior, it was already built up to a certain moment when it explodes and they're going to shout and they're going to walk away. But if you be there at the moment that it's building up, because you can see it with these socks that it's already building. If you don't say, hey, I'm here, it's okay. then you see that you can prevent the explosions of stress.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Franca, also a question again.
Yeah, and related to the previous question, because I also work together with Mentec indeed on the development of a sock or a shirt where you can access this arousal stress.
Yeah.
But does then the results communicate with Sarah so that Sarah can distract people at an early stage?
Yeah, and now we are also discussing now how we can also do some recognition within Sarah, so we can really work together. So it's our first cooperation, but we think we really have some. We can do more with this, but that's still in development.
Yeah,
but
very
that's the
nice.
start. Yeah.
And I had another question. Yeah, that was really thinking in daily practice that you perhaps have one Sarah robot at a living room in a nursing home. And how does it work if you are if Sarah is distracting this person to prevent challenging behavior, but also another person comes to Sarah and talks to Sarah, and how does can Sarah cope with that?
No, we haven't got that situation really far, really a lot. So I don't know actually. Sarah's really interacted with one. Sometimes another one sits down with it, and talks to it. But what you see with people with dementia, it's not always a problem that Sarah's not really responding, but sometimes they're just talking to it. Like my grandmother had a big teddy bear on the couch, and she was alone for over 30 years because my grandfather died really young. And she was talking to the teddy bear, and the teddy bear, of course, could not speak back, but sometimes that's not necessary, just that you can talk to something. So what we see is that in most cases, that's not an issue. What we are now discussing with nurses is that you, of course, have to create some rulings when it's necessary for Sarah to change her attention to another client. So we are working together with the sensors in the building, in the bed, with the socks, and maybe, but always from a human perspective, Sarah has to say to one client, okay, I have to go for a little while, I will come back to you, and then go to the other client. That's something we have to discuss. Can we say to one client that Sarah is leaving because there's somebody else needing more attention? And can a nurse say, Sarah, you now have to leave? Or can the sensor, is one sensor more, how do you say it? In a higher rank. So if this sensor goes, Sarah immediately has to leave, something like that. But that's something we have to research still in operating. Like I said,
so is there a nurse involved who says that Sarah is now communicating with this person, maybe in a room alone, or Sarah needs to go to another client?
It can be, yeah. Of course, the sensors can tell Sarah, but the nurse is always in the chair of decisions, and a nurse say, oh, I don't have the time, now Sarah goes, or I have the time, Sarah can stay where she is. So that depends a little. So we have to really work out the process. That's why I said you don't have, if we put Sarah there and we just make the assumption that everything then goes by itself, that's not the case. So we really have to see how this working with Sarah and working with other technologies change the work of nurses, and how you can decide when I'm going to use Sarah, or when do I have my own time, or when am I going to use something else to help this client.
Yeah.
Okay, right, and we have, thank you, Franca, as well. And one more question, Maartje, from Katarina.
Yeah, I was my own researches with speech and affective computing, and I'm just curious, if you use speech recognition, which you said you do, and you already raised the ethical questions, right? So Microsoft and Google and which are the standards currently used there, of course, would upload to the cloud. So and then you have all this privacy information and health information, which you probably don't want to have on the cloud. So how do you deal with that?
That's a good question. So that's why we now only use speech recognition on particular times and when we have permission, and in research cases, so not in all care institutions yet. But we use it in the cloud, but it's a little bit technical, but in how do you say it, in our own server, and we use Rasa for that.
Okay, but Rasa is a dialogue system, right?
Yeah.
but that's not necessary. So, okay, but it becomes too technical probably.
Yeah,
So,
but I would love to discuss it further, but I
Yeah.
actually need my colleague of technology then also, but it's nice to discuss this.
So can everybody see my back screen at the moment? People are doing this. Can we do that this time as well? Yeah. Very good. Okay, thank you very much for today. Let's stay in touch. Very good presentations, good interaction, and see you later. Thank you.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Oké,
Thanks, bye-bye.
zoek in de App
Dankjewel,
Store naar
jongens,
CO1.
dankjewel.